Lo gioio sampo pagyo trashi pa tuce tempe trinle yar ngoda pelge drolor zampe tse parche palden lame shabla solvade Omo a guru vajra dara suma timo nisha sane karma Uta varda nishri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Omo a guru vajradar suma timo nisha sane karm Uta varda nishri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Omo a guru vajradar suma timo nisha sane karm Uta varda nishri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Om Guru Vajradhar Suma Timo Nisha Sane Kar Uta Shri Badra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhar Suma Timo Nisha Sane Kar Uta Varda Nishri Badra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhar Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karm Uta Varda Nishri Badra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om Guru Vajradhar Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karm Uta Varda Nishri Badra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karm Uta Varda Nishri Badra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om Guru Vajradhara Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karm Uta Varda Nishri Badra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhar Suma Timo Nisha Sane Karma Uta Varda Nishri Badra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Dagi Chitsun Lama Tuje Che Nyamda Dala Tuje Sikso So Gebe Shesan Dala Tendo So Uyon Sungi Nawa Tsedo So Sechi Ningne Solwa Debe Tse Dechen Korlo Viso Lekshune Yila Sambe Dedem Lupa Gemel Hungi Drubra Chingelo Tsoni Sodan Dikdun Shakpe Tse Dunge Namke Yinso Lekshune Lapchen Tsoni Yonso Tsopa Dan Chera Nyetun Chanwara Chingelo Chancho Pargi Ninsen Tukun To Nyu Peme Siudro Lek Jancho Drube Geken Kunshishi Tungen Dela Drubra Chingelo Ba Dagi Lona Chola Chokpa Dan Chemi Samchur Ngemba Shiwada Chodan Tumbe Dodum Malupa Bemel Hungi Drubra Chingelo Dorna Tengne Tsera Tamche Dan Teche Pardo Negawa Tamche To Rese Kyamne Lama Kele Me Tukche Chingi Dala Siksu Sol Gongyab Drewe Nyamda Dachala Jetson Lame Tuche Rabgongne Kodan Sunge Nawa Dralme Tu NgalSo Nyongwe Kesan Tobrasho Kiewa Kundu Yanda Lama Dan Drame Cheki Pela Longche Chin Sadan Lamge Yunten Rabzone Dorje Change Kopa Nyurutobashon Pakyuke Kodan Dagi Olu Pakyuke Sungdan Dagi Nga Pakyuke Tugdan Dagi Ye Tenyerme chikto chingelo. Makyuke kudan dagelo. Makyuke sundan dagenga. Makyuke tukdan dageyin. Tenyerme chikto chingelo. Sashi peke chukshi meto chan rirab lingshi nide gembadi sangye shinto mikte ulwaraki drogun namda shingla che parasho yidam guru ratna mandral kam niryatayami. Sangye chedan tsoge chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapso chi dagi jinso gibe sonam ki drola penchira sangye druparash. Sangye chedan tsoge chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapso chi dagi jinso gibe sonam ki drola penchira sangye druparasho. Sangye chedan tsoge chonam la jancho pardo dani kyapso chi dagi jinso gibe sonam ki drola penchira sangye druparasho. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge unto enlightenment through the practice of generosity and the other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Nel Buddha, nel Dharma e nel Sangha prendo rifugio fino all'illuminazione. Con la pratica della generosità e delle altre perfezioni possa io ottenere lo stato di Buddha per il beneficio di tutti gli esseri senzienti. Aye ke da ludan nue chin ke drupon da da mi ke nam da drwa kuin ge ranama che tsampa tham che ke tu da ge che ten to. Buongiorno. Good morning. Okay. When we do anything, the actions are similar like throwing an arrow with a bow and arrow, in which the action itself that we do is like if we pull the bow and we let go the arrow. And the motivation, why we do it, what emotion is behind, what intention is behind, is like the direction that we give to the arrow. So the result that we gain, it's completely different in accordance to the intention that we have as we do the action. No? So I can be very well prepared, I can know very well how to throw an arrow, but if I don't direct it on the right way, I will not get the right result. No? On the other side, I may not be the best archer, but if I put it on the right direction, it may not reach exactly where I want, but it goes at least some meters in that direction. Okay? So, anything that we do, it's very important for us to be aware of what is the intention, what is the motivation. In other words, why do I do it? What is behind that? Okay? And the intention, it's very much connected with a simple question that we have repeated many times here, which is basically, what do I want? And this is something that I'm not talking about specifically on things, I'm talking about more generalized, what do I want in my life? What is my main objective? Okay? And this is something that, how to say, it's deeply connected also with our own worldview. So in the practice of self-healing, we saw the other day the very beginning of the preliminaries, in which we were training ourselves into first prepare the place where we sit, then after that how to sit in the correct posture, and how to prepare also the mind by doing breathing meditation in order to help our mind to come to a more, how to say, stable state. Okay? Just I ask one thing only. Jerry, puoi andare alla mezzato dall'elettricista e chiedere spegniamo un attimo queste luci che stanno facendo così, perché toglie un po' l'attenzione. Grazie. So, every part of self-healing, we could stay hours and days talking about it, okay? So I need to control myself in order not to get stuck on one part and not move forward. So we would move forward. Otherwise, we go in details on which part, which is also okay, but we need to move forward. So once we have actually finished the part in which we sit correctly, we do the breathing meditation, we do the 9-cycle breathing, and so on. Once we are able to bring our mind to a more peaceful state, then the next step is we need to give the right direction to our mind. Why am I sitting here? Why do I want to do the meditation? Why I'm going to do the practice of self-healing? What do I actually want? Okay? And this is the very first step, and it's very, very important, which it's called generating the motivation. Okay? I think they turned off a little bit more than what I expect. Just the circle around need to turn off. The rest we can keep it on. Yeah, Torsten, please. Just the circle around we turn off. The rest we keep on, okay? Thank you. So, I think it's also nice like this. Huh? Okay, Torsten. It's fine like this. Okay? It's fine like this, it's okay. Thank you. So, our eyes get used, just a few minutes. So what happened is that once our mind is peaceful and calm, we need to give the right direction to our mind. And this is called generating the motivation. The reason why we need to generate the motivation is because it doesn't come spontaneously. You know, our motivation, the motivation that comes spontaneously to us, are most mundane motivations. You know, as in the very beginning, we were talking about the difference between mundane and spiritual when I was explaining the meaning of the name of the practice, self-healing. No? And at that moment, we were quite clear, no? Spiritual means something that transcends this life, that is also part of this life, but is able to transcend this life. So putting it into very few words, to do something that is spiritual, it means to develop our qualities and to take care of the aspects of ourselves that are part of this life, fundamental part of this life, but that also transcend this life when we die. And everything that concerns taking care of this body, taking care of the relationships around us, taking care of our way for us, things are or a quick path to comfortable something. The answer is, okay, life now. We want to avoid the things that we don't like. We want to gain the objects of our desire, and so on. Okay? So we generate the motivation in order to be able to desire something that actually goes beyond the, mundane desires. And this is fundamental in our practice. That's why we start by taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. Okay? The reason why in the beginning of every sadhana, of every practice that we do, there is always the taking of refuge and generating bodhicitta is not because this is something that we must do because we are supposed to be Buddhist. And Buddhists take refuge. Is because this is the moment in which we redirect our intention. And to be able to do it well, we must go through the Four Noble Truths. Okay? So, in this moment of the practice, I'd like just to make a small overview of what we have in the preliminary practices, okay? So we did the preparation for the practice, which is sitting correctly, breathing, and so on. Then now we have, the next step is generating the correct motivation. Then we have generating the field of merit. Then we have accumulating positive energy and purifying our negativities through the 7 limb prayers. And then we have requesting the blessings. So we have 4 steps, basically. Again, generating the motivation, generating the merit, the field of merit, practicing the 7 limb prayers as a way to accumulate merit and to purify our negativities, and requesting the blessings. This is the 4 steps of the preliminary practices. Okay? We generate the motivation in order to give a good direction to our action. Because the type of result depends on the direction that we give. That's why it's so important to generate the correct motivation. Okay? After that, we generate the field of merit as a basis for us to accumulate merit and do the purification and to receive blessings. Okay, after we will go through that details tomorrow or the day after. Then we do the 7 limb prayers because there is a very simple concept in which it's not possible to experience results without having created the causes. We cannot experience something for which we did not create the causes. So, To experience an inner state of peace, of joy, it's not just enough to do the right thing in the right moment. We need to create the causes for that, which is used the term accumulation of merit. Okay? We will talk more about this later. But in order to be able truly to get the realizations, which means to transform the actual meditation practice of self-healing. Okay, before we start during the actual meditation, which is through the generation stage and so on. But, so first we need to generate the motivation, then we connect to what is sacred by generating the field of merit. We'll explain all of this later. Then we do the 7 limb prayers for accumulation of merit and purification, and then we request the blessings. Okay? Then after that we have the practice of Guru Yoga, and then we start with the rest of the practice, generating relative and absolute purification, generating the lotuses, the symbols, and everything else. So let's start now with motivation. To be able to generate the first part of motivation correctly, which is called taking refuge, truly we must answer 4 questions that we need to do to ourselves, which in other words, if we want to use a more Buddhist term, we can say we must meditate on the 4 noble truths. But making it simple, we are seated, we finish breathing and so on. And then the first question that we put to ourselves is, what is suffering? Okay. And here is the moment in which we need to observe our own perception of suffering. And possibly, putting it into very few words, we see it all. I don't want to have pain, I don't want to feel sad, I don't want to... This is the first. Then we look in the moments where we have joy, recognition of our image, joy that comes through a gain of material things be sustained. As long as the object connected to the joy is there, can that state of will remain? No. The more I drink, the less it embraces me. Do we like to be embraced by someone we love and we care? Yes, no? So someone we love and we care and we are attracted, the person doesn't stop embracing and remains there. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour. This just reminded me one time. It was quite a funny situation. I was in Tibet, and then there was the abbot of one monastery called Nyamogyache Monastery. And he's a monk with a lot of knowledge, good Dharma practice, but very, very humble, extremely humble. And he was there, and during this ceremony, people were coming and making offerings, and then there was one friend from the Sangha that went to offer the kata, and went there, and she put the kata, and he put the head together with her head, no? And they were there like this. But he, out of respect, he would not take his head out until she didn't take her head out. And she did the same thing. And you could see the both of them there. Maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't know, the time was passing, and they were both there not knowing exactly, like each one being out of respect somehow for the other, no? Anyhow, and I was just looking, and the time was passing, and I was somehow having fun. Anyhow, if someone that we like very much comes and embraces us, it's pleasurable. But what happens if that embrace goes on, that hug goes on? Half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, and like this we fall asleep, we wake up, still the hug there. No? what happens is that there is a moment in which it becomes less and less pleasant until it can become unpleasant. If we listen to abusive, beautiful music, if we gain any material gain, in the first moment it is pleasurable. As we keep contact with the object, gradually it becomes unpleasurable. Okay? So, this is called the suffering of change, or the changing suffering, Gyurvedungal, which refers to the fact that it's a state of pleasure that sooner or later will become suffering. The example that I gave the last time, the metaphor, is we see this children game. I don't know how to say in English, the seesaw? No? The seesaw? No? So what happens is that in the seesaw, when you are down, it represents like the suffering of suffering. So when you are down, you want to go up. When you are up, inevitably, what will happen? It will go down. So basically what we do in life is when we are down, we want to go up. When we are up, we want to keep up and we don't want to go down. But what we do all the life? Up and down, up and down, up and down. Instead, we need to get out of the seesaw. It's like the solution is not keep it forever up, because whenever it will get up, inevitably it will come down. And being up or being down is of the same nature. It's always of the nature of the seesaw. So being down is the suffering of suffering. Being up is the suffering of change. Being in the seesaw itself is the all-pervasive suffering. The all-pervasive suffering, basically, it's our body and our mind polluted by our defilements and our karma. In other words, as long as we are completely influenced and driven by our ignorance, selfishness, anger, jealousy, pride, miserliness, arrogance, insatisfaction, and so on. And as long as we act out of these emotions, inevitably there will be suffering. So in the first moment of this meditation, we start and we recognize that we see, I don't want to suffer physically and mentally, but for me it's not enough to go up with the seesaw and to have moments of pleasure. That's not enough for me. And also, what I need is to get completely out of this. I want to get out of this called samsara, this cycle of suffering. I need to be completely free of it. So, if we go into more deep analysis, at this moment of the practice we can do an meditation, an analytical meditation on the 12 links of interdependence. Okay, which we will not open this subject right now. But basically we observe out of defilements, such as ignorance and anger, what we do? We remain still or we act? We act. Action inevitably will bring result. When we experience the result of our own defilements, such as anger and so on, how do we react? With more defilements and more actions. So basically we have this circle which is made, this cycle, which is made of defilements, karma, which is actions, results, which the results, which is suffering, we react with more defilements, with more ignorance, more anger, more selfishness, and so on. And then we act again, and then we have the result, and we constantly into this cycle, which is called samsara. Samsara literally means cycle. Okay, korwa in Tibetan. So, we look at this and we develop a sort of strong aversion towards samsara. That's the first thing that we need. We look and we say, ugh, I don't want it. You know? One time I did another metaphor not so beautiful as the one of the seesaw, but somehow it gives the idea. Imagine that we have something that has a bad smell. Okay? Choose whatever you like. You have something that has a bad smell, something that is rotten. When the smell comes out and we experience it, that's the suffering of suffering. Then what we do on top of that, we put perfume. We throw a lot of perfume on top of it, and we put some sand and we cover it. And for one moment, it smells like perfume. Oh, so nice. But sooner or later, the smell of what is below will come out again. And then what we do, we throw more perfume on it. Okay? So when we have the beautiful smell, this is the suffering of change, or the changing suffering. And the all-pervasive suffering is the fact that the shit is there. Okay? But the point is that, what is easier, to clean the shit or to throw perfume? To throw perfume. Okay? No, it's like, to clean the shit, you need to get your hand dirty. It's not something that is like, without touching it somehow. In other words, to deal with our defilements, our anger, our ignorance, our selfishness, it's not pleasurable. It takes effort. It's not something easy. But if we don't want to have the bad smell anymore, the true solution is we need to clean deep. So in this first moment, we develop this strong intention in which we say, I don't want anymore to suffer on any level. I don't want anymore to have these momentary pleasures, which is nothing wrong with it, but it's not a real solution. It's not enough for me. And I don't want anymore to be in this cycle called samsara. So we recognize the all-pervasive suffering as suffering. We recognize that as long as my body and my mind are polluted with selfishness, with ignorance, with anger, with insatisfaction, and so on, I will suffer, and that's what I don't want. When we see all of this, we come to the second question, which is, but why do I suffer? What generates my suffering? And our natural reaction is to point the finger towards the world around us. No? I am not talking about, it's very important that when we put to ourselves the question, why do I suffer, we should not make this question in an intellectual way. Because I'm sure that many of us, we have studied well Buddha's teachings, we have a good understanding of Dharma, and I'm sure that many of us, when we ask you, oh, why do you suffer? You will say, oh, the causes of suffering, such as Buddha have explained in the Second Noble Truth, are because of defilements and karma, and mainly there are 3 defilements. And in these islands, there were monkeys, and they were a little different from one island to the other. They were from the same type of monkey, but because in each island there were different types of plants and fruits and so on, in the centuries that came, they developed differently. So they were doing research on the whole process of evolution of the species. And what they start to do is they start to throw on the sea potatoes. On the shores, they will put in potatoes. So the potatoes will come to the shore, the monkeys will take the potatoes, and in the beginning, the monkeys, they took the potato, it was full of sand, they tried to eat, they didn't like it, then they threw away. After some time, in one island, one monkey, the monkey didn't have a name, because the researchers, they were a long time looking, they gave names to each monkey. This was a female monkey. And she was the one that took a potato and she washed the potato. And after washing the potato, she ate it and it was good. So she showed to the others that actually it was possible to eat the potatoes by washing. And what happened was that after a short time, many of the monkeys in that island were eating the potatoes by washing the potatoes. And when a certain number of monkeys on that island were eating the potatoes by washing the potatoes, on all the other islands around, they started to do the same. Very fast. Most probably they put in social media. The monkeys took a picture as they were eating the potatoes, and they showed to others, look, you can also wash the potatoes, send the news around. Okay. Actually, we have much, much more powerful and evolved methods of communication than internet. But we are not truly aware of it. So this came out of the concept that when there is a knowledge and it reaches a certain threshold of people, of beings that have that knowledge, it naturally expands to the others. So when we try to study the Dharma alone, it's much more difficult than studying the Dharma in a context that there are other people studying the Dharma. I am not even talking about the fact of sharing knowledge by talking, by doing things together. I'm talking about a much more subtle level. I believed very much into that. For example, in the big monastic institutions like Sera, Ganden, Drepon, Tashilumpu, and many other great monasteries that are nowadays in Tibet, when you have thousands of people together studying the same things and reflecting about it and thinking about it, it makes everything so much easier. I had the experience, when you have many people meditating every morning, coming to the pujas and doing everything, it becomes so much easier to do it. So, when we take refuge in the Sangha, actually we are asking for help to the spiritual community. To follow the path only by ourselves without having support, it's much, much, much more difficult. So we ask for help to the Buddha, please show me the path. We ask for help to the Dharma, the actual path to follow. And we ask for help to the whole spiritual community to give us the support on our path. Which in the metaphor is, we ask the doctor to give us the right treatment. We take refuge in the doctor, we take refuge in the medicine by taking the medicine, and we take refuge in the nurses that give us the support on our path of healing. And then we take refuge in the Guru, that is the embodiment of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. The Guru is the one that is representing Buddha for us in bone and flesh, no, it's physically. He's the one that is giving us the Dharma. Is the one that is there as a support also for the Sangha. So the Guru in a physical form represents for us Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Is the embodiment of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So, why do we take refuge? Because we want to get out of samsara. We want to get out of the cycle of suffering. And we recognize that just by ourselves we cannot make it. Why not? Because our tendency is to repeat what we already know. Once I read that was a scientific research which said that 99% of our thoughts are repetition of the previous thoughts. I think it's 99.99. So, if we don't interact with something that helps us to see things differently, we will just repeat the same. So we need really someone that has a different view, that opens our mind to see reality in a different way. We truly need it. Okay? So that's why we take refuge in the Buddha, we take refuge in the Dharma, we take refuge in the Sangha. Okay? So, as we do our practice, I advise you to give some time to meditate on the Four Noble Truths before you start reciting Namo Guru Bhye, Namo Buddhaya. As we go along and we have more familiarity with it, then we can actually do it we can do it more fast. But in the beginning, it's truly important from time to time to sit down and meditate on the Four Noble Truths, even though we do it briefly. We just ask ourselves, what is suffering for me? Why do I suffer? Can I reach a state beyond suffering? Yes or not? Yes. How do I do it? And because to follow the path, I need to have the help of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And then we take refuge. Okay? In this moment, we are developing a state of mind which is also called developing love towards oneself, or developing what is called the definitive emergence, which is the certainty that I can get out of the cycle of suffering. I can do it and I will do it. This is the first basis for motivation. Okay? So in this moment, we take refuge by reciting Namo Guru Bhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo means I pay homage. And it also refers to I take refuge. Okay? So I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. That's the meaning as we recite it. And I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. Okay. Then, as we recited, the visualization that we do is that we visualize in front of us Buddha Shakyamuni, okay, as inseparable from our gurus and from all the gurus of the lineage and from all holy beings, but in the appearance as Buddha Shakyamuni. There are many very complex visualizations for taking refuge. Some of them, they are really complex. But I believe that for most of us, it's better to do simple visualizations. The complete visualization is you have Buddha Shakyamuni in the center on a big throne, then you have another 4 thrones, one behind, one at each side, and one in the front. On one throne you have Manjushri, on the other throne you have Maitreya, on the throne behind there is Vajradhara, then there is your own guru on the other throne, and then there is all the gurus of the lineage around, and then around all of them there are all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and Dakas and Dakinis, and it's like hundreds and hundreds of beings to visualize. It's quite complex, you know. And there are people, amazingly, there are people that do this type of visualization. Huh? That they go there, their whole life visualizing, and then they learn all the minimum details. Here is this and there is that, like. And then you visualize all the gurus of the lineage, and each one of them, by their side, there is a number of books, which are the number of books that they wrote. So Lama Tsongkhapa have 18 volumes. That's the only one I really remember. And then each one of them have a different number of volumes of books. It's like you can enter into such level of details of all of this. And there are descriptions of all these details. But I prefer just to focus on one image, which is we focus on Buddha Shakyamuni as being inseparable of our own gurus, of all the Buddhas. So we visualize Buddha Shakyamuni seated in our front. He is seated on a beautiful throne with a sun and a moon cushion. His right hand is touching the ground in the mudra of stability. His left hand is in the mudra of meditative concentration, just as we have in the image of Buddha that we normally know. It's important to visualize that Buddha is smiling at us. as we feel love, we feel protection, okay? And then, as we recite Namo Gurubhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, we request deep from our heart, please help me, please guide me. We take refuge. And then at that moment, we visualize that through the smile, Guru Buddha accepts our request of refuge, and then from his 5 chakras, crown, throat, heart, navel, and secret chakra, white, red, blue, yellow, and green light emanates and comes to our 5 chakras. As it reaches each one of our chakras, it is like it blesses us and it helps us to develop our qualities that naturally eliminates our defilements. Okay? And it grants us refuge. So this is the visualization, briefly. The words that we say is Namo Gurubhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Normally we put the palms of our hands together in our heart. And the most important is the state of consciousness that we generate, which is the strong wish, I want to get out of samsara, please help me, I can make it and I will follow the path. I take refuge in the Buddha because I need help. I take refuge in the Dharma because I trust that I can make it and I will take the medicine. And I take refuge in the Sangha because I have not yet reached my final destination and I need help on my path. Okay, I think it's quite clear, right? Someone may say, oh, but that's a lot just for the beginning. That's why, if we want to practice really seriously, it is said that before starting with meditations on the highest yoga tantra and other meditations, we need first to do 100,000 recitations of taking refuge and so on, called the preliminaries. But in other words, it's not a fact of accumulating number of recitations, Namo Gurubhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, and do 100,000. Is to create familiarization with taking refuge. Is to repeat this meditation so many times that it gradually becomes spontaneous on us. Okay? So, what we can do is that even though we do not stay 1 hour meditating on refuge, at least try in the beginning to dedicate 5 minutes. Before starting to recite Namo Gurubhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, at least visualize Guru Buddha in front of you, then observe your own self, see your own suffering, see the changing suffering, see the all-pervasive suffering most of all. It's like if we look in the mirror and we see our own samsara, and then we develop this strong wish, I want to get out of it. I want to reach a state of peace. And please, Guru Buddha, help me. I can make it, but I need your help. I will follow the path. I will take the medicine. I will put in practice the Dharma. But I need your help. Please help me. And with this, we take refuge. Okay? With this, we develop the first part of the motivation, which is the intention to reach a state of peace ourselves, which in other words is called loving oneself. Because to love oneself, it means to wish for one's own happiness. And in this case, we wish for happiness that it goes beyond the normal, ordinary, mundane things. Okay. Next part is still part of generating the motivation. It's called generating the bodhicitta. So, generation of the motivation is done actually of 3 parts. First, we take refuge, which is called developing love towards oneself. Then we do the generation of the mind of enlightenment, or the bodhicitta, which is developing love towards others. And then we developed the specific intention, the specific motivation. Okay? So, developing bodhicitta. As we finish to take refuge, we develop this inner sensation of being protected, of being guided. We feel peaceful inside. But then we start to look at other sentient beings around us. We start to visualize our father, our mother, our friends, the people that we know, the people that we work with. And we visualize basically everyone that we are attracted to, those that we are not attracted, and those that we have aversion. And we don't try to visualize too many people. We start by putting few. Okay? Just start by imagining the people that we have to do in our daily life. Okay? Because if we start right away to visualize all sentient beings, we develop a very generalized thing. And then there is the danger that we focus on being the one that loves everyone instead of caring for the happiness of each one. And it's a very different thing. Okay? So, we visualize other sentient beings. We start by visualizing those that are near to us. And then we allow ourselves to go beyond our own selfishness. For one moment, we let go. For one moment, we allow ourselves to look in the eyes of each one. Okay? And we can start with one. We don't need to look in the eyes of 100 people. We can start with 1, 2, 3, but very few. And as we see the other person, we say to the person, your happiness is as important to me as my own. Your suffering is as important to me as my own. From the depths of my heart, with my full person, with everything I have, I wish you to be free from suffering. I wish you to be happy, just as I wish it for myself. Okay? In other words, what we do is we take this very, very strong intention and force that we have within us, that is the attraction for our own happiness and the aversion for our own suffering, which we do have, and we extend it towards others. We are not stopping to wish ourselves to be happy, but we are including others. We are not excluding oneself to include others. We are just including others. So I look to the other person and I say, your happiness is as important to me as my own. So the same intention, the same force that I have that I want to be happy, I have the same thing for you. Your suffering is as important to me as my own. So the same force that I have wanting to stop suffering, I have it also for you. Independently of the fact of who you are, what you do, what you don't do, how you act, or anything else. I simply love you. And I don't enter into the judgment. Oh, you are a good person, so I wish you to be happy. Oh, you are suffering so much, poor you, I want you to be free from suffering. We don't enter into any judgment. We simply look into the other person and we see, you suffer just as I suffer. You wish to be happy just as I wish to be happy. Your suffering is as important to me as my own. Your happiness is as important to me as my own. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. And if possible, we give some time to it. No hurry. We will never generate this love towards everyone if we are not able first to generate towards one. So we visualize one person, one sentient being. It's easier if it's a human being for us. So we visualize and we just allow ourselves to feel this strong intention. May you be happy, may you be free from suffering. Okay? And we allow it not to be just mental, but to feel it in our heart, in our body. And when we visualize and we see the suffering of the other, we have this strong urge to help. It's said that the type of urge that we need to develop, it's similar to that of a mother or a father. In the text it says a mother that sees her only child in the middle of fire. Imagine that we have one only child, and we see our child, or drowning in water, or burning in fire. The example is given burning in fire. What is our urge? Oh, I remain relaxed here? Or are we ready to burn ourselves to save the life and to help our own child? That's the urge. I will do anything necessary to save my own child. So, as we are there meditating and we look upon this other sentient being, okay, we observe his or her suffering, the suffering of suffering. We observe the suffering of change. We observe the all-pervasive suffering. We see the samsara in that person. We see that maybe apparently the person is looking okay, but is in this cycle of defilements and karma, and it's just going up and down, up and down, up and down, until we develop this urge, may this person get out of the cycle of suffering. And we feel it in our body, and we have this strong wish for it. And this will naturally develop in a strong urge in which I must do anything I can to help you to get out of suffering. But first we need to develop this urge towards one being. Then, once we develop this towards one being, we just look to the side and we see the others. And we see what is the difference between this person and the other one. Both of them suffer. Both of them want to be happy. Both of them are doing whatever they do, trying to be happy out of their own ignorance, just as I do. And when we develop this urge for this person to be happy and we see the other one, we naturally develop the same intention for the other one. We expand it. I wish you also to be happy and not to suffer. And it's not a conceptual wish. It's something that we feel in our heart, we feel in our guts. I must do something. And then the same thing happens to others, and gradually we expand. And when we see so many people, so many beings in the middle of samsara, there is a moment in which we get frustrated. Because as we expand this wish for happiness and this wish to be free from suffering, this urge to help others, we say, what can I do? Truly. Can I help one person to get out of suffering? Can I take one person out of suffering? No. Not one. Then how can I do that with everyone? But I don't want to see anyone suffering at all. So we develop this very, very deep urge, this desire. May everyone be free from suffering, and may everyone experience a state of peace and happiness. And then we look and we say, what can I do? And we recognize that the only thing that we can do, the only thing that we can actually truly do, is to develop our qualities to a level that we can actually be of help to others. Because I cannot help you to eliminate your anger if I myself am angry. I cannot help you to reach a state of peace if I myself am in a state of anxiety and fear. I cannot help you to see reality clearly if I myself am completely driven by ignorance. So I wish to develop my qualities to their maximum potential. I wish to get out of samsara. I wish to become a Buddha myself, so that I can help every sentient being to get out of suffering. Because that's truly the only thing that I can do. In the meantime, yes, I can help others by giving food, by helping physically, by giving good advices. I can do whatever level of help that I can give, I will do it. But ultimately, the only way that I can truly help others is by first developing myself. So, in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. I need the help of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I will take refuge in the Dharma. I will practice the Dharma, develop my qualities until I reach the state of Buddhahood. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, which means by perfecting generosity, morality, patience, joyful effort, concentration, and wisdom, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood. May I become a Buddha myself for the benefit of all sentient beings, so that I can help every sentient being to get out of suffering. That's the intention that we generate, which is called bodhicitta, okay? Which is developing love towards others. But it's not just love. It's love with the strong intention that I can do something about it. When we talk about love, there are different levels of love. There is the ordinary love, which means I wish you to be happy or anyone else to be happy. That's ordinary love. There is unconditional love, which is the love that is not conditioned by selfishness, which means I wish you to be happy independently of whom you are or what you do. Then there is the great love, which is I wish you to be happy. It's great love must be an unconditional love, but I wish you to reach the ultimate state of Buddhahood. I wish you to get out of samsara, not just out of ordinary suffering. I want to get out of suffering in a whole way. And then there is what is called laksam, which is translated as higher intention, which is when we take upon ourselves the responsibility to do something to help others. Then there is bodhicitta, which is I believe in myself that I can become a Buddha, and I take the responsibility upon myself in order to truly to help others. Help others means to interact with others in a way that they can gradually get out of their own cycle of suffering. Okay. Our visualization in this moment, this is the intention that we generate. And here we can meditate on it for a long time. There are different types of meditations and processes that we can do in order to develop this state of mind, but at least we can just start by visualizing few sentient beings. And then once we are able to connect with them, then from that we expand to everyone else. But we need to be careful in this moment of the practice not to develop this mind, may everyone be happy. It's like may everyone and no one. But it's like May everyone be happy, but it's a very generalized everyone. It's an everyone that doesn't include the people that I don't like. Like, may all beings have happiness and its causes, with the exception of you, you, and you. May everyone be happy. Okay? This means that we are more interested in being the one that we have, in having the identity that we love all, that actually being interested in the well-being of each one. And the objective here is to open our heart to everyone. But we need to do that by starting with 1, 2, 3, not right away to look at everyone. If we are able to love one person in an unconditional way, which is not conditioned by our own selfishness, which means I love you independently of what you do to me, what you don't do to me, and so on, then I can naturally expand that to others. So in this moment of the practice, after taking refuge, we allow ourselves to go briefly through this process. We visualize the sentient beings, we develop this strong wish, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering, and then once again we take refuge. This moment is called the refuge of result, of the resultant refuge. The other one is the refuge of cause. The first refuge, I take refuge in the Buddha that shows me the path, in the Dharma, the actual path to follow, in the Sangha, the spiritual company during the path. In the second part, we take refuge in the Buddha that we will become. We take refuge in our own potential of enlightenment. We take refuge in the pure state of mind that we will develop. We take refuge in the Dharma that we will realize. In our own potential, in our own spiritual practice. We take refuge in the spiritual company that we will become for others. So we take refuge in our own potential. Okay? Here we see very clearly that when we take refuge, the same level of trust and faith that we should have on Buddha, we should have also on ourselves. Okay? So as we recite the prayer in the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge into enlightenment, to the practice of generosity and the other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Sangye chedan soge chonamla janjo bhardu dani kyabso che dage jinso gibe sonam ki drola penchir sangye drubarsho. Try to do this developing the correct awareness and developing this urge to help others. There is the danger because this is the very beginning of the practice. We get busy with the rest of the practice, and this we do always in a hurry. So it's very common that in the beginning of any sadhana, we just do Sangye Chodan Soge Chonamla, Janjo Bardadani Kesuche, Dagenso Gibe Sonange, Rula Benje Sange Rubasho, Sangye Chodan Soge Chonamla, Janjo Bardadani Kesuche, Dagenso Gibe Sonange, Rula Benje Sange Rubasho, Sangye Chodan Soge Chonamla, Janjo Bardadani Kesuche, Dagenso Gibe Rula Benje Sange Rubasho, Samje Damje Dewadan Deve, Gidan Demba Gyochi, what is there for lunch today? And even there is a way in Tibetan in which when something is done in an automatic way, without thinking, it's like, oh, this work was not well done. You didn't do this well. You did it automatically, without thinking, without putting your mind into it. It is said, you did this for the benefit of all sentient beings. It's like, let's say you clean a room, but you didn't clean it well. You didn't see the dirt around. You just passed quickly the broom and without attention. Oh, look at that job. It was done for the benefit of all sentient beings. Lega di drola penchir chesha. Drola penchir, which is for the benefit of others. Which is in the prayer, drola penchir sangye drubrasho. Why? This is a sarcastic way of saying that when we make the prayer, we just say words automatically without truly feeling and thinking. So we should not allow that to happen. We should meditate, reflect, observe, When we do our own practice by ourselves, we give some time. For example, some months ago, during the period of lockdown, I was doing the meditation, guided meditation every morning. And I gave time and space in this part before doing the rest of the practice. So please give some time to it. Don't do the taking refuge and bodhicitta as something that is, that's for the beginning, and then the rest is important, Because we can know all the subtle body by memory, and we can visualize and meditate on all the 6 syllables and all the Buddhas in the different body mandalas, and we can know all the very complex things. But if the intention is not correct, we will get no real results. On the basis, there must be renunciation, which means loving oneself, which means to renounce suffering and the causes of suffering. And there must be bodhicitta, loving others. That's what makes it a Mahayana practice. So, give time, give space to taking refuge and bodhicitta. Okay? Now, the visualization that I will explain now, which regards developing the bodhicitta, is a very specific type of visualization that was transmitted within our own lineage. It's a specific visualization from the Ganden Nyingyo lineage, the whispered lineage of Ganden. Okay? Is the following. We have Guru Buddha visualized in front of us, where we took refuge. Then we recite Sangye Chodan Soge Chonamla Chancho Bardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Gitrola Pinjir Sangye Drubrasho. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge into enlightenment through the practice of generosity and the other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. And we focus our attention in that moment not so much into the visualization, but we focus mainly in the intention, into this urge to become a Buddha, to help others, to develop our qualities. And we focus our visualization in the sentient beings around us. When we develop this urge, then as we take refuge in the result, in the Buddha that I will become, in the Dharma that I will realize, and so on, we bring the result into the path. So we visualize that from Buddha Shakyamuni, in front of us, from Guru Buddha, comes an emanation of Buddha. Like if we have one candle and we lit a second candle from the first, we have 2 fires of the same size, no? Similar to that, we have Guru Buddha there, and then comes an emanation. It's like one candle coming from another. Then Guru Buddha comes towards us. When he arrives very near, becomes small like a hand, or even smaller like a thumb, enters through our central channel, comes down, and sits in our heart. Okay? And as Guru Buddha sits in our heart, we imagine that we become inseparable of Guru Buddha. In other words, we allow ourselves to experience the infinite inner space, a profound state of peace, of joy. It's like we allow ourselves to experience the mind of Guru Buddha. We bring the result into the path. That's a very powerful and important meditation. If we do this well, we can just remain into that, okay? But because it's so important, we repeat it a few times during the practice also. So in this moment, we visualize that Guru Buddha comes, enters through our crown, through our central channel, sits in our heart. Our mind becomes inseparable of the mind of Guru Buddha. It's like if we get overwhelmed by the qualities of Guru Buddha. It's like making it an example. I remember one of our friends, he was many years ago, before Albagnano Center existed, he was taking care together with Rinpoche of the center in Milan. And he told me that sometimes he will see things not working well, and he will see things that Rinpoche decided and did, and he got upset. And he would go to see Rinpoche in his room, and he was very angry. And he wanted to fight with Rinpoche. oh, why you did this? How come that is like that? Ta, 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 ta. And he would enter Rinpoche room, and he was never able to fight towards Rinpoche. Whenever he will arrive there, after a few minutes, his anger will completely fade away, and he will start feeling so well. And he'll say that it will take a few minutes, and then gradually, and he never had the intention to pacify his anger when he was going there. His intention was always somehow to fight with Rinpoche. But every time he would go in, he would never be able to fight. And the mind would just melt down, and then he would somehow afterwards be calm and talk about something else, and then just go. No? It's like by being in the presence of someone with such great love and peace and harmony, it's like if we start vibrating in the same frequency, to use a metaphor. Okay? So, imagine that Guru Buddha comes towards us and enters into our central channel, and it's the deepest part of ourselves. So we become overwhelmed with the wisdom. There is no more space for our ignorance. There is no more space for our selfishness. There is no more space for our anger or anything like that. We are completely overwhelmed by the presence of Guru Buddha. And then we allow ourselves to experience that state. We become that. We meditate on that for a short time. And then from our heart, inseparable of the heart of Guru Buddha, we start to emanate light, emanations of Buddhas, nectar, and it goes to every sentient being around us. Okay? And as it arrives to each one of them, it transforms into what they mostly need. So it's not that the light and nectar eliminates the suffering of others. That's the shortcut. It doesn't bring happiness to anyone. It doesn't eliminate the suffering of anyone. It transforms to what they mostly need in that moment. So it transforms as water for those that are thirsty, as food for those that are hungry, as affection for those that are lonely, as friendship for those that need help and support, until it transforms into the Dharma, into the blessings, into everything that they need. So gradually each one of them starts changing their worldview and start pacifying their mind. The process to go to the state of Buddhahood is done by each sentient being. But the lights and nectar that emanates, they adapt to their needs and interact with them, helping and guiding each one of them until each sentient being around us reaches a state of peace. And then the lights and nectarines and emanations come back and reabsorb into our heart. We are simulating being a Buddha. What a Buddha does is constantly manifests himself or herself. Buddha doesn't have sex, and this is a state of being. But Buddha manifests to others in accordance to the needs and capacities, in order to guide each one on his or her own path. So we simulate that. We are bringing the result into the path. Okay? Prego. Sì. Mm-hmm. Sì. Okay. The question is why we reabsorb. Okay. There are different reasons. One reason is that we are not giving anything to anyone. We are interacting. Okay? Not because we don't want to give, but because we cannot. So, as we share what we manifest as whatever each one mostly need, when the lights and everything come back to us, it's not that we are taking anything out of anyone. It means they don't need it anymore. Okay? And this is the moment in which we rejoice. Because as we do this visualization, there are 4 states of mind that we develop, that we familiarize ourselves with. Love, I send you light, manifesting in what you need for you to experience joy. May you be happy. Compassion, I manifest myself in whatever way helps you to get out of suffering. Then as you reach a state of well-being and peace, as the lights reabsorb back into me, I rejoice of your state of well-being. And equanimity, I send the lights in the same way to everyone. Okay? These are 4 qualities which are called the 4 limitless, which are 4 qualities that we need to develop on our path. Love, compassion, rejoicing, and equanimity. The order is the other way around. It's equanimity, love, compassion, and joy. Okay? Through this visualization, we are naturally familiarizing ourselves with these 4. There is equanimity because we visualize it with the light that goes to everyone in the same way. We make no distinction. There is love because we wish that these lights will bring joy to others, happiness. There is compassion because the lights will manifest in the ways that help others to get out of their own suffering. And then there is joy because as the light come back, it's the moment in which we focus in the well-being of each one, and we focus into the, in the happiness, in the well-being of others. So this is the moment of rejoicing. Okay? As we do this, we recite the words Simchen tamchen dewadan dewe gyudan dembra gyurche Simchen tamche dungadan dungagi gyudan trawar gyurche Simchen tamche dunga mepe dewadan mi trewar Simchen tamche niren chada nidan trewe tanyomla nebar gyurchi Simchen tamche lusim gi dunga le soshin trayun lusim dewadan dembra gyurche Simchen tamche NgalSo topchin chinan mechu koryo tanshin sangma ne gyurche Simchen tamche dan zambu linge kenro tada chinangi shide dan tukun dembra gyurchik. In English, as we do this visualization, we recite, may all beings have happiness and its causes. May all beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all beings never be separated from the great happiness that is beyond all misery. May all beings dwell in equanimity, unaffected by attraction to dear ones and aversion to others. May all beings recover from the sicknesses of mind and body pollution and enjoy relative and absolute health now and forever. May all beings relax in a pure and healthy outer and inner environment now and forever. May all beings enjoy inner and world peace now and forever. Okay? As we recite these words, we wish this for every sentient being. Okay? The first 4 are called the 4 immeasurables, which means limitless love, limitless compassion, limitless joy, and limitless equanimity. And then the other 3 are called specific prayers for the moment in which we live. So the last 3 were composed by Rinpoche. The other 4, I imagine it comes since the time of Buddha. Okay, it's part of every Buddhist tradition. Okay, so we have, may all beings have happiness and its causes, may all beings be free from suffering and its causes, may all beings never be separated from the great happiness that is beyond all misery, which is rejoicing, and may all beings dwell in equanimity, unaffected by attraction and aversion. Okay? Actually, the translation in Italian, it's slightly wrong. I'm sorry to say. No, I will just add in Italian. La traduzione di questa preghiera in italiano, but I say in English because then it's going to be streaming through you. Okay? There is a small mistake because simchen tamche nirin chakdang nidan chalwe tanyom la nepar gyurchik. may all beings dwell in equanimity, tangyum la nepar gyurchik, nyerin chada nidan talwa, may all sentient beings be liberated from specific. Ni means specific, talwa means separated, liberated. From what? Nyerin chakdang, from attraction to those that are near and aversion to those that are far. That's why in English it's saying, may all sentient beings dwell in equanimity, free from attraction to dear ones and aversion to others. Okay? In Italian, some other things were added in the translation. Dimorare nell'equanimità libera da pregiudizi, avidità e odio. Non è proprio così. Actually, it's more, may every sentient being be free from attraction to one and aversion to others. May every sentient being relate with equanimity to everyone. That's the meaning of it, okay? Then we have a specific prayer which Rinpoche composed, that in which we dedicate, may everyone experience physical and mental health. May everyone, then the second one is, may everyone live in a pure environment. And may everyone experience inner and outer peace. Okay? So as we recite these verses, we can recite the 4 limitless, plus the 3 specific prayers. In Tibetan it's called Tseme Shidang Chemun Sum, Chetu Mumba Sum, specific prayers, specific aspirations. Mm-hmm. So, as we do this, we can recite it once or 3 times. We can recite it slowly, or we can recite it more fast. We can do with the translation or without the translation. The important thing is that as we are reciting it, we visualize the lights emanating, going to every sentient being, eliminating suffering, bringing happiness, which in other words is adapting to whatever sentient beings need the most. And then we feel the joy that comes from the joy of others. We allow ourselves to experience this inner state of joy, of well-being that comes by feeling the joy of others. Okay? So, as we do this, we end by rejoicing. We end this part of the practice by feeling this inner state of joy. Okay? And remember that in this moment of the practice, we are bringing the result into the path. So we are acting as if the result is already there. We are bringing the future into the present. Because someone may ask, but is every sentient being free of suffering? No. But we allow ourselves to imagine it and to feel the joy that comes of everyone in harmony, everyone in peace. Okay? And as we can feel this joy, we come back to the present moment. And we develop this deep intention. May everyone truly reach the state of peace. And I will do anything I can do for that to happen. And because I want everyone to be happy and to be free from suffering, I must reach myself the state of Buddhahood. And in order to do that, I will now do the practice of NgalSo self-healing. Okay? This is the moment in which we generate the specific intention. So first, we recognize samsara as suffering, the all-pervasive suffering. And we recognize the state of peace called nirvana as the state of happiness. Then we take refuge. Then we expand this intention and this awareness towards other sentient beings. And we develop love towards others, so-called bodhicitta. And then within this state, we say, what I most want is to help others to get free from suffering. In order to do that, I must reach the state of Buddhahood myself, and this is why I will now do the practice of self-healing. No? If we look in the text of Guru Puja, these three states of motivation are very clearly described. Okay? So, the last one is if someone can give me the text of the Guru Puja in English, I can just go through it. So you can see it's actually very, very clearly described. Yes, right here. Thank you. We can do the preliminaries or through the normal text of preliminaries that we have in Self-Healing number 2. Or we can also do it with the Guru Puja. You see, verse number 4. It says, "For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I transform myself into Guru Yidam, and thus I shall lead all sentient beings to a Guru Yidam's supreme enlightenment." So this is the moment in which we visualize the emanation of Guru Buddha coming, entering into our heart, and then we become inseparable from Guru Buddha. And then, here it says, "For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I shall quickly, in this very life, attain the state of a primordial Guru Buddha Yidam. I shall liberate all mother sentient beings from suffering, and lead them to the great bliss of Buddhahood. To this end, I shall now practice the profound path of Guru Yidam Yoga." So these other two verses are the specific intention, in which we say, I must help others. For that, I must develop my own qualities. I must become a Buddha for myself. And I must do it as quick as possible. I cannot lose time. It's like, imagine that you see your own child drowning in the water. And you have to say, I must learn how to swim because I must help my own child from drowning. And but now I am busy, I need to watch a movie. No, I must learn how to swim. There is no time to waste. When we look the suffering of others around us, when we see the need of support and help in the world and everyone else, we have no time to waste. So I will quickly, in this very lifetime, as soon as possible, reach the state of Buddhahood in order to help others. And in order to do that, I will now do the practice of NgalSo Tantric self-healing. Okay. So this is where we develop the intention, where we developed the motivation. Okay? I think you can all see clearly the difference between just sitting down and reciting and doing the practice and actually allowing ourselves to experience this moment, do the visualization, but most of all, generate the intention, generate this urge. The motivation is not conceptual. The motivation is emotional. It's something that we feel in our body, in our heart, in our guts. It's this urge, I must do something to help others. And that's why I will do now the practice of self-healing. Okay. This intention doesn't come spontaneously. For a bodhisattva, yes. But for most of us, not. That's why we have generating the motivation. And many masters for centuries have repeated again and again, we need always to generate the motivation. Remember why we are here. Why do we want to do the practice? Because our natural thing is to react through our own selfishness. Why I'm going to do the practice? Oh, because I need to do it. Why I'm going to do self-healing? Oh, because I want to feel relaxed. Why I'm going to do self-healing? Oh, because I want to overcome my anxiety. Why I want to do self-healing? Oh, because whatever. Instead, we can even have these intentions, but we can go beyond it. And we generate Yes, I want to overcome my anxiety, but ultimately I want to help others. And in order to do that, I must first be well myself. So we focus again and again into the motivation, okay? So if we have time, we can first meditate on the Four Noble Truths. Then we can meditate on exchanging self with others. We can do the meditations of Tonglen. We can do the meditations which help us to develop bodhicitta. Okay? What we learn when we study the practice, the teachings of Lojong, which is the mind training and the whole part of bodhicitta, we need to reflect upon that in this moment. Okay? But what I explained before is like the short version of it. We see others, we allow ourselves to see others, and just even to say to ourselves, I allow myself to go beyond my selfishness. For a moment. Don't worry, we'll get back to selfishness. You know? But for one moment, I allow myself to go beyond it. And then we see others and then we say, your happiness is as important to me as mine. Your suffering is as important to me as mine. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. I will do whatever I can do to help you to be free from suffering. And for that reason, I must reach enlightenment myself so that I can truly help you. Okay? So, the reason for that is also because the only way of helping others is adapting to their needs and capacities. And out of our ignorance, we are not able to see the needs and capacities of others because we cannot see reality other than through our own perspective. And a Buddha is able to go beyond that. Okay? So, once we have developed this, we have taken refuge, done the generation of the bodhicitta, the lights have come back into us. Then when we develop this intention, I must reach enlightenment as soon as I can to help every sentient being, and for that reason I will now do the practice of self-healing. In this moment, we do the visualization in which Guru Buddha that is in front of us dissolves into light. Personally, I visualize a golden light. And then this golden light comes towards us and enters through our forehead. And then as the light, so it's not that Guru Buddha goes somewhere else or absorbs. No, Guru Buddha dissolves into light, transforms into light. And then the light comes towards us, enters through our forehead, fills our central channel, and then this golden light expands from our central channel through our body, and from our body through the whole universe. And everything around us is completely overwhelmed by light. Nothing else exists other than this golden light that expands through everything. So it's like, imagine like a sort of Big Bang, like a sort of poof, like an explosion of light. Very peaceful, it's very silent, there is no noise into it. Actually, an explosion in the outer space have no noise either, also, no? Because there is no oxygen, so there is no sound. So imagine this silent, sort of peaceful light explosion. It's not an explosion, like manifestation of light. And it overwhelms everything. So everything is absorbed by light and dissolves into light. Until we imagine that there is nothing more than this infinite light. This infinite emptiness full of light. There is nothing more than light. Within this state, there is no more me or you. There is no more here or there. There is no more this or that. It's only this infinite emptiness full of light. And we allow ourselves to rest for a moment within that state. And this infinite emptiness full of light, it's inseparable of great bliss. There is this deep state of joy. There is this inner state of pleasure that it's present in every part of this infinite emptiness full of light. It's everywhere. It's inseparable one from the other. And I am, we are, each one of us, I am this non-dual union of this infinite emptiness, full of light, with great bliss, and that it's empty of one's inherent existence because it is interdependent. Later we will talk more about this, okay? But in this moment there are these 4 characteristics. Everything appears as an infinite emptiness. The mode of apprehension is that it lacks self-existence, inherent existence, as it is interdependent. It is perceived through great bliss, and I am the union of great bliss and emptiness. So we allow ourselves just to stay. In a simple way, we just stay in this state where there's nothing more than infinite emptiness, full of light, with great bliss. And we imagine that within this state, it's still interdependent. Okay? Then after some time that we are in this state, we develop the intention, in order to help others, I must manifest myself in a gross level. So from within this clear light, this infinite emptiness full of light, once again manifests the universe. So once again we can perceive the world around us, the environment, all the beings around, and then we see our own body also manifests, and we manifest with a body of light. Okay, there are different ways of meditating here, but making it simple, we visualize ourselves with a body which is perfectly balanced, with a very clear central channel. We can visualize ourselves as one of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, or one of the 5 great mothers, or Vajrasattva, and so on. But to make it simple, we just visualize ourselves with a body that is perfectly balanced, which is perfectly clear, and a body made of light. Okay? Then, from this, we will start the rest of the practice. Okay? In which we purify the environment, we do the offerings, we invite Guru Buddha, then we make the 7 limb prayers, and then we request the blessings and receive the blessings. We will go through this part this afternoon. Okay? One thing which for me is very important is that the preliminary practices itself is a complete practice. Each part of the preliminary practice is a complete practice. So you can, for example, just do the meditation on breathing. It's a complete practice in itself. No? And you just do that for some time. Then once you are more familiarized with it, then you go to the next step, which is taking refuge, generating love towards yourself, identifying what is suffering and what is happiness, what are the causes of suffering, what are the causes of happiness. Developing this strong wish to get out of samsara, and then taking refuge. That's a whole meditation in itself. And you can do it with calm. Then there is generating the bodhicitta, allowing yourself to go beyond your own selfishness, opening your heart towards others, seeing others, taking upon yourself the responsibility to develop your qualities in order to help others to get out of suffering. Familiarizing yourself with love, with compassion, with equanimity, and with joy. It's by itself is a very special meditation. Okay, then give time to it. So, the preliminary practices are not something that we should give small attention to. And the very nice thing also is that once we understand the preliminary practices, we will see the same steps that I've been just telling in almost every sadhana. In every practice that we go through, it will always go through these steps, independently of the words that we use. Okay? In some practices, every step is clearly described with words, in others not. Okay, but the steps are always the same. of the visualization and so on. We can add more details or less details, but the steps are this. So, give some time to it, meditate on the Four Noble Truths, meditate on bodhicitta, and this will make a complete difference on the practice. And before you start, give some time to do some breathing meditation and bringing your mind to the present moment. Okay? And my experience is that to do this part of the practice from the breathing to the conclusion of generating the motivation, if you do it not in a hurry and not too slow, for me personally, it takes around 40 minutes. Okay? But I think it's something that we need to do it again and again. Maybe this afternoon, as after lunch we come back, we can actually go through this together. Because I like to put some emphasis on this part. Not that I don't want to explain the rest of the practice the other way around, but we need to go through it. And one thing that normally when we receive commentaries on meditation practices, in Tibetan is called chi, one of the aspects which is very important is that as you receive the commentary, between the first explanation and the second, you need to do at least 3 times the meditation. That's why normally, traditionally, the commentary is done only 1 session a day. In the afternoon, mostly. Or in the morning, not early morning. Why? Because you need to have time. It's part of the practice of the commentary to sit and meditate on what was explained. Okay? So, in the morning and maybe today later in the evening, please go through what we have said. Do the meditation. Do yourself the visualization. And one thing which you can also do is even do bullet points. Write down what are the points that you need to reflect. So if you sit down to do taking refuge, what is suffering? Why do I suffer? Do I believe that I can get out of suffering? And how to do it? You write down the questions that you want to reflect upon. You know? And allow yourself to go through this. There is no hurry to do the rest of the practice. Okay? And once we get more familiarized with it, then there are the next steps to go. And one thing which for me is important for us to understand is that very often it is repeated that before entering into the practices of the Vajrayana, which is generation stage, completion stage, the practices of Tantra, you must first complete the preliminaries. But very often the concept of completing the preliminaries is to recite 100,000 times the prayer of refuge, to do 100,000 mandala offerings, to do 100,000 times the mantra of purification of Vajrasattva, to do 100,000 water offering bowls, to do 100,000 prostrations, and so on, which is wonderful. To do 100,000 times the mantra of the Guru. These are all very, very precious practices. But actually, you conclude the preliminaries not by reciting 100,000 times the prayer of refuge, by familiarizing yourself with taking refuge. That's when you conclude the preliminaries of taking refuge. You conclude the preliminaries of generating the bodhicitta not by reciting 100,000 times the prayer Sangye Chodan Soge Chonam La while you think about the soccer championship. I'm not saying that everyone does that, not that, but what I want to say is that why we need to recite in Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge into enlightenment through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I reach the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Why to recite it 100,000 times? The power is not in the recitation. It's in the process of familiarization. So, if you give time to sit down and do the visualization, generate the intention, and then within that you recite the words that leave an imprint in the mind. When you do that many times, Later, by just saying the words, it will reconnect you with that feeling, with that emotion, with that intention. That's what we need to do. Okay? So, I don't want to diminish at all doing the 100,000 recitations and so on. I think that's very important practice. But I just want to make clear that the actual completion of the preliminary practices is when we develop, when we are able to generate bodhicitta, when we are able to take refuge and generate taking refuge. That's when we are completing this mainly. Okay? So just give some time to it. Do it with attention. And then we do the rest of the practice also. But allow yourself to go through it slowly. Don't put hurry to do that. Okay? I think this is something very important, because very often we put a lot of hurry to do many things. Many people accumulate many sadhanas to do. And there is something that, I'm sorry if I put in these words, but Rinpoche said so many times, he said, we Tibetans, we made that meditation became only recitation. You know? It's like, because in the ancient times, like 1,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, the sadhanas, the meditation techniques, they were very simple. Very simple, I mean from the point of view of recitation. There was not much to say. No? But what happened is that there was a lot to visualize and to meditate upon. But gradually people lost the capacity of remembering what they need to visualize. So what the masters did, they put into words what we are supposed to imagine. No? It's like the blessing and transformation of the inner offering. No? In the sadhana of Yamantaka. What needs to be recited is Om Rishti Vikritanana Humpe Om Sabhavashuddho Sarvadharma Sabhavashuddho Hang Om Ahung Om Ahung Om Ahung. That's what needs to be recited. The whole rest in between is what needs to be visualized. So I'm just going to recite the short version, okay, in which we say Om Rishti Vikritanana Humpe Om Sabhavashuddho Sarvadharma Sabhavashuddho Hang Om Manyindo Gyoto Bengala Yamle Long Ramle Me Alemigo Kibasungiten Vale Jumete Bagarpotina the Shanga Dizinga Tadakten Oma Rangito Kan Levesetro Long Yeme Part of Benangizan Shinko Igism Levesetro Sungin in Batabalon de Chungi Katrina Kikanch Edizito Brachungi Mambo Barshim Pelwargur Oma Hung Oma Hung Oma Hung. So the first mantra and the last part is what we need to recite. All in between, I just recite it quickly, is what we are supposed to visualize. But what happened is that as the century passed, people stopped giving importance to visualizing and meditating, and they just give importance to recitation. Even in Tibetan nowadays, there is a word which is said to do one meditation, one practice, it's said kanden or shelden, which is two words to say recite from the mouth. Ka, mouth, or shel, mouth. It's just one honorific, one not honorific. Dön, recite. Recitation is powerful, but it's not enough. So Rinpoche gave a lot of emphasis saying to us, we need to recite less and visualize and meditate more. That's why in the practice of self-healing, he did not so much recitation and much more visualization and so on. But what I see sometimes happening, we go back to a lot of recitation. We want to recite all the sadhanas and we want to do everything, and then there we are like reciting a lot of stuff and not meditating. I'm sorry if I say like this. It's not a criticism towards anyone. It's an acknowledgement. No? It's like to say, okay, let's think about what we do, how we do. Rinpoche had the kindness to say to us, look, don't focus too much into recitation. You need to visualize, you need to meditate. And Rinpoche told me a few times, he said, truly to practice, all you need is self-healing. But we like so many practices, no? So finally we do so many things. But really what you need is one. So, Rinpoche, out of his kindness, gave us so many different practices. But as was said by one great master, I don't remember if it was Atisha, I'm not sure now, in which it was said, we Indians meditate on one practice, on one deity, one Idam, and we realize all. You Tibetans, you meditate on all and you realize none. Okay? So, Rinpoche transmitted his whole lineage with all the practices and so on, but we need one practice. But on all the meditation practices and sadhanas that exist, the preliminaries are always the same. There is not one practice that doesn't have the preliminaries. Not one. So please put emphasis into it. Please meditate upon it. Please give time to it. Not from an intellectual point of view, but from our own heart. When we take refuge and we generate bodhicitta, it's not of like, I recite many times so Buddha are happy and they do something for me. It's not a sort of way of accumulating points. It's a way of familiarizing one's own mind and generating a pure intention. So please do it sincerely, deeply, give the right attention to it. Okay? I really think this is something that we need to give emphasis, we need to give time to it. No hurry. Okay? Because when we hurry, my experience is that we run, and finally we are still in the same place. It's like we need to do one step after the other. But we see all the steps to do, so we start trying to run to avoid the first one. But finally we are still there that we still need to do the same step. So it's better to come down and first do the first step. Then we do the second step. In the meantime, we familiarize ourselves with all the steps to be done. But we focus our attention in the step of where we are. Okay? So please, give attention, give time into bringing the mind to a peaceful state, breathing meditation, taking refuge, generating the bodhicitta, which means developing love towards yourself, developing love towards others. Please, we need to give attention to that. Okay? Then, once we have that, all the rest will come spontaneously. Because one of the beautiful things of the teachings and the methods that we received is that once one step is well done, the other one comes spontaneously after it. Like, once you develop well love towards yourself and you take refuge, developing bodhicitta comes as a result. Once you do the developing of the generating the bodhicitta, to do the practice with that intention comes spontaneous. And like this, each part is connected with the other. And then there is a complete path. But we need to do the steps of where we are. Okay? Which doesn't mean that we cannot learn the rest of the practice, which doesn't mean that we shouldn't do the rest of the practice, but we need to give emphasis on where we are. Okay? We can accumulate hundreds and thousands and millions of mantras of many deities, which is wonderful. I'm not saying not to do it. But we also need to meditate on taking refuge and developing bodhicitta and give time and space to it. Okay? This is actually fundamentally important. Okay? So we stop now for lunch. And then after we come back and we will go through the rest of the preliminaries. Okay? Sa shi peke chukshi meto tran rirab lingshi nide gembadi sangye shinto mikte ulwargi drogun namda shingla chepar sho jetsun lame kutse rab chokchurge padang losan tembe drume sasumgi drowe munsel taktu ne gyur che yedamang guru ratna mandrala kam niryata yami Kyewa kuntu yanda lama dang drame cheki pela longche ching sadan lamge yente rabzo ne dorje chamge kopa nyurtob shoya nimo dele tsendele nime kunyan delekpe koncho sumke jinge lo Concho sumke ngodrubot sol, concho sumke trashisho. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle all the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. All'alba o al tramonto, di notte o durante il giorno, possano i tre gioielli concederci le loro benedizioni, possano aiutarci ad ottenere tutte le realizzazioni e cospargere il sentiero della nostra vita con molti segni di buon auspicio. Oma hun temba lame sangye rinpoche, kyoba lame tamche rinpoche, drimba lame gendo rinpoche. Kyamne kuncho sumla chepa bu locho sambo pagyo trashi pa tuche tembe tinle ya pegye drolo zambe ze pande lame shela chepa bu. Buon appetito. Grazie a tutti.